Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are perfect games with no issues whatsoever, and because of that, I finally decided to do a Nuzlocke with them. So that means I can only catch one Pokemon per area, no healing items in a battle, and I have to have a level cap for each gym. But I did add one new rule, that I can only use Ghost Type Pokemon. So now with these rules in place, let's see if I can become the champion of Paldea as a Ghost Type trainer. When it came to my choice of starters, I obviously chose Fuecoco, seeing as it evolves into a Ghost type. The only drawback being that it gets its Ghost typing at level 36, meaning he's kind of useless for the first half of the game, and after the game's hefty intro I can now ride Miraidon, and officially start my Nuzlocke. My first capture was in South Province Area 3, with this Charcadet, and even though it's not a Ghost type, it can still evolve into one, so it counts, at least for me. But then in South Province Area 2, I caught my first Pokemon that could be put to use. And even though I hated this Reddit Snoo knockoff at first, it eventually grew on me, and began being one of my favorite Pokemon from this region. Then I finally finished up my encounters by catching a Ghastly in South Province Area 1, and a Mankey in West Province Area 1. Again, another Pokemon I can't use for the first half of the game, and after leveling up to the level cap I realized out of the 5 Pokemon I actually have, only 2 of them are useful. But luckily my gimme goal named Denmark could learn Power Gym, and after getting the TM for it, Denmark proceeds to one-shot her Nimble, survives an Assurance from Tarantula, which raises Denmark's speed, leading to an easy KO on her Yarn Ball, and finally Denmark tanks attacks from her Teddy Ursa, managing to knock it out with only 5 HP remaining, giving me the first gym badge of the run. Now before facing Brassius, I catch one of my favorite Pokemon in East Province Area 1, then I evolve Fuecoco into Crocalor, but most importantly I pick up the TM for Acid Spray and give it to Fiji the Ghastly. Now with a super effective move I can take on Herbert from Fire Emblem 3 Houses. His Petalil misses Sleep Powder, leading to it fainting, and then Brassius sends out Smoliv. It never stood a chance. Now on to Sudowoodo, where Fiji landed a lucky Hypnosis putting it to sleep, but after one Acid Spray it woke up and hit me with Trailblazer, increasing its speed in the process. But Fiji outsped, and with the lowered special defense of Acid Spray, I knocked it out with one more Acid Spray, giving me the second gym badge. But now I face one of the scariest gym leaders in this run, Iono. In preparation for this fight, I caught a Bramblin in East Province Area 3, and after some light cardio workout, Bramblin evolved into Ireland the Bramblegast. And in East Province Area 2, I caught a Sandygast. And you would think that my ground type Pokemon would be useful in the electric type gym, but Iono's Mismagius had Levitate, so there was only one option left. I spent time gathering enough Reddit Gold to evolve my Danish Snoo into Golden Go. Then I gathered enough teacups outside of Zapapico to get the Malicious Armor, and now Luxembourg, yeah, I named her Luxembourg, can evolve into Ceruledge. And now with 3 fully evolved Pokemon, I'm ready to face this overhyped Twitch streamer. Denmark outspeeds and makes a complete mockery of Iono's Wattrel. And even though Luxio has Bite, Denmark can tank it and follow it up with another knockout. Australia the Sandygast comes out the Sand Tumor Bellybolt, but after one Water Gun I send out Ireland to take care of it with Mega Drain. But after missing 2 due to paralysis, I send out Luxembourg to deal the final blow. Now comes her Mismagius. But because of Denmark's ability, her Mismagius keeps trying to confuse me, but it doesn't work until she lands a Hex on Denmark. And because I can't outspeed, I sadly had to sack Australia to bring out Luxembourg, who does get confused, but luckily lands a Shadow Claw, giving me the 3rd gym badge. Also after the battle, Fiji evolves into Haunter, and Chili the Mankey evolves into Primate, so he's close to being useful now. With one of the hardest gyms out of the way, it's only fair that I get an easy one next, right? Before this fight, I caught a Rotom named Egypt in West Province Area 2, and with the Volt Switch TM from Iono, this is a complete beast. Kafu's Veluza only takes a couple shockwaves to be knocked out, and the same exact thing can be applied to his Wugtrio as well. Now with Egypt being on low health, I Volt Switch on Crabominable, taking half of its health, and then I send in Ireland to deal with the rest of his Underwater Snowman for the 4th gym badge. Now with my level cap being at level 36, my Primate can evolve after destroying the entire Psyduck population, as well as I can finally evolve New Zealand after having him for the entirety of the game so far. Then right before Larry's gym I find a Dreepy in West Province Area 3, so now it's time I face one of the easier gyms in this run. Larry's Komala tries to put Denmark to sleep, but he's him, so with one Hyper Beam the teddy bear goes down. The Dunsparce absolutely does nothing to Chile, and with 2 Cross Chops it's done for. Then Larry's Staraptor came out, and after Egypt landed 2 shockwaves I Volt Switch into Denmark, who finishes off the oversized chicken with Power Gym, giving me the 5th gym badge. Now the next gym was the one I was slightly worried about, so in preparation, I caught Taiwan the Sableye, as well as Canada the Greavard, and evolution-wise, I evolved Grease in the Bayonet, and my freshly caught Canada evolves into Houndstone. The last thing I did was to give held items to my Pokemon, like a Quick Claw for New Zealand and an Eviolite for Fiji. Now with this done, it was time to face the Ghost type leader, Rhyme. She leads with Mimikyu and Bayonet, and I lead with Taiwan and Fiji. Lucky for me, both of her Pokemon target Taiwan for neutral damage, so that Fiji can one-shot Bayonet, and Taiwan can remove Mimikyu's disguise. Next turn, Taiwan gets knocked out, but in return, Fiji does a heavy blow to her canine's corpse. Then I send in a dog corpse of my own, as well as I have Fiji tank a Shadow Sneak so he can take out Mimikyu, but he sacrifices himself in the process. Once I send out New Zealand though, the best course of action happens. Both Canada and New Zealand pop their Quick Claws, leading to massive damage on our Lizard, as well as proving that not all dogs go to heaven. But then our Toxtricity deals a massive blow to New Zealand. So my safest bet was to sack Ireland, who had no use anymore, so that Canada can land a super effective Last Respect that can deal more damage, finishing off Rhyme and giving me the 6th gym badge. But after suffering 4 deaths so far, it can't get any worse, right? Well, the next 2 gyms on my list were going to be a breeze, so I went around gathering up the Pokemon in areas I missed, like this Snorunt on top of the mountain, and this Mimikyu in the Tag Tree Thicket, and finally this Misdreavus in South Province Area 5. Then I evolved Norway into Frostlass, and evolved Italy into Mismagius. Now it was time to face Tulip's Psychic types. My Flatfuck 2-shots her Farafrig with Torch Song. Then he tanks a Shadow Ball from her Espatra, only to return the favor by one-shotting it with a Shadow Ball of his own. Denmark, my beautiful Golden Gumby, deals with her Gardevoir with a Quick Claw and a couple Shadow Balls. And finally, her Florist falls to a couple Shadow Claws from my Luxembourg for the 7th gym badge. And with no more Pokemon that I can catch right now, I decide to go ahead and fight Grusha, but with 3 Pokemon super effective against Ice types, one being a Cerule Edge with Bitter Blade. Is it really fair to call this a proper gym fight? Well, I did get the final badge from it, so now after catching my last Pokemon, Cambodia the Spiritomb, it was time to face the Elite Four. Rika was up first, and she leads with her Wish Cast, but thanks to Italy knowing Magical Leaf, her fish gets filleted, as well as her Dugtrio, but I don't think filleting a group of moles is that common. France the Mimikyu comes out to Shadow Claw her Camerupt, before, you know, falling asleep, so Chile comes out to finish the job with 2 Rage Fists. Chile also takes down her Donphan, now only leaving her Clodsire. Canada makes a very valiant effort, but sadly falls due to poison damage, and leaving Nepal to deal the final blow. Oh yeah, the Dreepy I caught from earlier evolved. I kinda, you know, forgot about him, but anyway, now it was time to take on Poppy. Paparaja absolutely gets decimated by Luxembourg, but her Bronzong manages to land an Earthquake on my Knight in Malicious Armor before falling itself. So New Zealand uses her following Corviknight and Magnezone to set up some Torch Songs, raising its special attack, so he can one-shot Tinkaton with Flamethrower. Now it was time for Larry. Again, New Zealand strikes again by lighting up his Tropius like a Christmas tree. Then I send out Egypt to land a discharge on Staraptor, before sending out Norway to deal with the rest of it. Denmark makes it rain on Altaria after tanking a Flamethrower. Oricorio couldn't really do anything against Luxembourg, so it was a fairly easy KO. Then came Flamigo, and luckily New Zealand pops the Quick Claw and lands a Flamethrower, doing massive damage, but in return Flamigo does massive damage to New Zealand. So I decide to try out Cambodia, and yeah, she gets one-shotted. I spent 2 hours looking for this thing, by the way. Anyway, Egypt outsped and took me to the fight against Hassel. But before I started this fight, Nepal finally evolved into Dragapult. So now this fight was going to be easy, right? I start off with France, and after 2 flinches in a row, she finally lands a Play Rough. But it's not enough to knock it out, so I send in Norway, who misses the attack. So now I had to sack Norway to bring in Luxembourg to deal the final blow. Luxembourg also survives a crit from Flapple, knocking it out as well. And as for Dragalge and Haxorus, well, let's just say I'm glad Nepal evolved when he did. Now all that was left was Baxcalibur. Nepal outsped to do massive damage, but sadly fell to his giant crystal, leading Denmark to make it rain all over the battlefield and to take me to the championship fight. Greta leads with Espatra, and I lead with Luxembourg. And after surviving a Lumia crash, Luxembourg manages to wipe Espatra away. Next was her Avalugg, where you can most likely guess what happened. But now on to her King Gambit, where New Zealand's Flame flamethrower didn't kill, so sadly my very first Pokemon falls before my very eyes. Luxembourg comes back out to avenge her fallen brother, then I switch into Egypt to get a free knockout on Veluza. Then she sends out Go-Go, and I'm pretty sure you all can guess what happened. So Glamora was last, and after tanking a dazzling gleam, Chile landed a cross chop, dealing a massive chunk of damage. But because Chile's health was low, I send in France to tank one hit with Disguise, and to finish off the run with a single Shadow Claw, crowning me a champion and completing my challenge. And the only thing I have to say is that Grease the Bayonet did absolutely nothing at all, and I love him for it. Hey, if you watched this far into the video, that means you probably liked it. Or not, I don't know. But anyway, feel free to subscribe to the channel, it really helps it out. But thank you for watching, and have a great day.